Hey everybody, Joe Khalil again streaming for you now outside of the Supreme Court, where we just learned this morning, a little while ago, that Roe versus Wade has now been reversed by the Supreme Court in a 6-3 decision. We've been out here throughout the morning as we've seen protests on both sides of the court, literally both sides of the issue. You've seen a lot of emotion here. There's one side of this protest where quite literally we saw people celebrating and popping champagne and hugging. On the other side, you saw a lot of tears. You saw some calls to action. We've seen lawmakers come out here. This crowd has actually grown since this morning. I want to bring in one person. This is Jenna from Virginia, came out. She was on the pro-choice side of this protest now. Can you just tell me what you're feeling? Were you out here when the decision actually dropped?
Yeah, so I was actually here right when the decision dropped, and you know, the mood, you could feel it. It's a disappointing day and a sad day, and that's how I feel too. Yeah.
We knew this decision was coming because of that leaked draft opinion. Did that soften the blow for you? Did it make it any easier when this actually came down, knowing that this was in the pipeline?
It really didn't, because you know, you always hold out hope, and even though it's been there, you just know there's so many women out there, so many trigger laws in effect, that this is a sad day for everyone, and it's disappointing. Yeah.
I know we've heard people here say, you know, this can be a call to action. Abortion is not going away entirely, but we now know that state by state these laws are going to be different.
Right.
What is left to do? I mean, if you're somebody who is very strongly pro-choice, what do you do?
Well, I think what's left to do is, and you're right, that's a great point, that every state will be different. And in Virginia, you know, I feel safe, I feel protected because that's the laws in my state, but that's not necessarily how it is for everyone. So I would say the call to action is, you know, find your local Planned Parenthoods, find where you can be that help, and you know, volunteer yourself. That's my plan.
You know, I've been asking people here on both sides what they thought of the other side, because this is a horrible day for you. I know it's a tough thing.
Right.
Have you stepped outside of yourself and saw the other side? Those people are absolutely celebrating today.
Right.
You know, what goes through your mind when you have to realize, for some people, this is a great day?
You know, for me, it's heart-wrenching because it's not necessarily about the people here that I'm worried about. It's about the women, the black and brown women who are disproportionately affected, that are going to be struggling today, and that are going to be not able to get an abortion or not able to access safe health care. So that's where my heart is right now, not anywhere on the other side.
I know it's an emotional day for you. Thank you so much. I know it's tough to talk about these things sometimes, but I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you heard that, and there's certainly a lot of people that feel that way. I thought we had somebody from the other side to talk to. I think we may have to move over there, so if you'll bear with us, we can sort of try to fight through the crowd. But what I can tell you that we've heard from people on the other side so far is that even though they knew this day was coming, people who have been waiting, who are celebrating pro-life, what we heard from them was that when the moment came down, the impact was still felt. Again, I talked about champagne and music and celebration. That's what was going on the other side of this. There were certainly people who were celebrating this day because they have quite literally been waiting for years, if not decades. This court decision today that came down is a historic one in that it reverses a decades-long precedent. The court does not do that every day. The court does not do that every term. This is rare. And not only have they overturned a precedent, but they've overturned a precedent on what is arguably the most divisive issue socially in this country, and perhaps has kept that for quite some time, for decades now. This issue has divided Americans. So we're going to try to walk over to the other side. Cameron, I'll ask everybody who's watching, who's streaming, if we can just sort of be patient with us and bear with us. I know sometimes as we come through these crowds, I'm so sorry, excuse me, it can get a bit hectic. We may lose the shot, but we're going to try our best to see if we can come through. What I can also tell you is that we saw some lawmakers who were out here a little while ago on the Democratic side, and basically they were calling for people, it was a call to action, you know, that this isn't on the Democratic side, again, that this doesn't have to be settled for people, that they can take action and on a state level advocate and, you know, continue to push for and fight for what they believe in. I don't think we can. Do we have somebody over there? Okay. All right. Bear with us. We're going to try. I just wonder if there's a... I don't think there... yeah. Stay with us here if you're watching, if you're streaming with us. I'm going to try to get through. I don't know that there's an easy way to get through this crowd because it has grown. And actually, that's something that's been quite remarkable, is that when this decision came down, these protests, these crowds, were not nearly this large. What I can tell you also is that we've been out here every single day that there has been a decision from the Supreme Court coming down because of that draft opinion that was leaked, which was an unprecedented moment in Supreme Court's history. Congresswoman, good to see you. We were trying to make our way to the other side. We've talked to a couple of people here. Congresswoman from San Diego, correct?
Right, yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what have you been telling people, you know, as you've come through? I imagine you've seen a lot of people that you felt needed consoling. What have you been telling people?
Well, look, as a young woman and one of the few women of reproductive age in Congress, this decision is deeply personal to me. So, like many people out here, when I heard this decision, I was shaking, I was angry, and now what we need to do is make sure that we turn this anger into action, and we work to make sure we have a pro-choice majority in the House and the Senate, so we can codify Roe v. Wade into law once and for all, as the majority of Americans support.
So, what does that look like? I mean, obviously, you know, the midterm projection is not in your favor at this moment. When you tell people, you know, that this isn't the end of it and that you continue to fight, other than elect more Democrats, what does that look like in your mind?
That also means electing folks in states and local governments, because we know a lot of the fights are going to go there. I'm really grateful to be from California, but not everyone has as great of a state government as I do, and now that this decision is going to the states, it's going to make those state legislature elections, those local elections, even more important than they already were. And while we work to codify Roe v. Wade as the law of the land, we also need to put in place other protections to protect people who are going to be living in states where abortion is criminalized, like a bill I introduced that would protect your reproductive and sexual health data.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you are the youngest Congresswoman in Congress, right?
Alexandria is a few months younger than me.
A few months, okay.
Yeah, we were both born in '89.
Okay, but there is a generational, I think, maybe divide in terms of how people feel this. So you connect with these younger people who are out here protesting.
That's right. I mean, I am going to be living with less rights than my parents and my grandparents, just like all the people out here. And I think it's important that we understand that unless we keep fighting, that will continue to be the truth for our kids as well.
Congresswoman Jacobs, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see
Thank you.
too.
Okay, we're going to continue to get the other side, if you're still with us here, because I do want to get that perspective. So we're going to try to make our way through here. You know, I thought that was interesting to hear from the Congresswoman because, again, Congresswoman Jacobs from the San Diego area is one of the she's one of the few millennials in Congress. She's one of the younger, as you heard, people. And so I think this does have a different generational feel. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Depending on how long, you know, some people who are activists on this issue have been at it for decades. You've got a really strong group of younger people on both sides. I've frankly been surprised how many pro-life and pro-choice younger activists in their 20s, even in their teens, who have been here. So, okay, we've made it to this other side of the protest. We're going to see if there's someone that we can talk to here. Excuse me, guys, I'm so sorry. I see a young woman that we did speak with a little while earlier. I'm going to see if she can give us her perspective again. Excuse me? Hey, I'm sorry, I know I talked to you earlier. We're doing another quick hit streaming on our web service, and I'm wondering if you can just give us again your kind of perspective.
Yeah, sure.
Just your name also, just so everyone.
Maggie Donica.
Maggie, and where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Arlington, Virginia.
So let's talk about the moment that the decision dropped. What was that like for you?
It was incredible, a little surreal. It's one of those things like you've been preparing for it. We thought it was going to happen. All the signs pointed to yes, but still it actually happening was just incredible and a little unbelievable.
Why was it the case that it was unbelievable and that you thought it might not happen, even though we knew we had that draft opinion that leaked? So not entirely surprising, but you've said you weren't sure it was going to happen. Why?
Yeah, I think it's just you never know what could have changed. You know, that draft was leaked from something that was written months and months ago. You never know if something has changed. I think it was really just me just trying to not get my hopes up too much, just in case. But I'm glad that it did happen. I definitely thought it was, but I was like holding on to a little bit of doubt, you know. So I'm so happy that it did.
So I just spoke with somebody on the other side of the protest who was pretty distraught. I asked her the question that I asked you earlier, which was, what is it like to see the other side? She was obviously distraught, and she saw people celebrating. You, on the other hand, have been celebrating all morning, all day, but you're seeing people who are just distraught, and for many, this is a terrible day over on the other side. So what goes through your mind and your heart when you see that?
Yeah, kind of like I said earlier, it's definitely a spirit of understanding. I understand that it's hard. Again, I don't think you can argue with a different side unless you understand them. And I understand that it's hard for women to carry to term. It's hard for women to be mothers. It's not an easy transition from here, which is why pro-life people need to step up and help take care of these mothers. It's our responsibility to do that. We fought for this, so we need to step up and help make the difference.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of passion on both sides. I think it does go a long way that you are able just to recognize how tough of a issue this is. You know, it's not black and white to many people, and a lot of people struggle with this. Thank you so much again for giving us your perspective twice now. Yeah. I appreciate it. So this is basically what we have been seeing. You've seen now, just in this couple of minutes that we've been streaming here, the range of emotions that we've seen on both sides of this. I do think it's important to mention that while we've had these protests from two sides now become more vocal throughout the morning and afternoon, become louder, there are more people now. I still think it's important to mention that we haven't seen violent clashes. We haven't seen any of that. These protests have been spirited and vocal and loud, but peaceful. We've seen lawmakers come out from both parties. All has remained peaceful. We hope it stays that way. We fully realize that these crowds may get bigger as the day goes on, guys, but I'm glad we got to give you an idea and a picture of what's going on here live. We'll wrap this up now. NewsNation's going to be on this story, obviously, the rest of the day and likely beyond that. So stick with NewsNation on TV and feel free to drop questions, drop comments, and if I can, I'll get back and I'll try to respond to some people. Thank you all for watching and for being with us. And no matter what side of this issue you're on, clearly a remarkable and a memorable day here outside the Supreme Court.
That's why they